I returned from my final deployment to find a stranger grilling hot dogs on my porch on land that had belonged to my family for 3 generations. He smiled and waved at me like I was just some passing neighbor. "Hey man, you here for the open house?" I stood there in my dusty fatigues, duffel bag still slung over my shoulder, completely stunned. That porch, that land was mine. It was where my grandfather taught me how to shoot, where my dad built our cabin by hand, and where I planned to raise a family someday. But while I was overseas, someone had sold it. Not just the cabin, the whole property. And the people who did. The HOA that didn't even exist when I left. Let me rewind. My name's Connor. I served in the US Army for 12 years, including 3 combat deployments. When I wasn't overseas, I kept to myself, working hard and putting every spare dollar into maintaining the land I inherited from my father. A quiet 60-acre plot just outside a small town with a view of the lake and mountains in the distance. It was peaceful, untouched, and mine. Before I left on my last tour, I filed all the necessary paperwork. I put the property under protection through the Service Members Civil Relief Act, SRA. That meant no one could foreclose, sell, or lease anything without my knowledge and permission. Legally, I was untouchable, but apparently laws meant nothing to the Silver Pines Homeowners Association. While I was dodging bullets in a desert half a world away, they were redrawing maps, faking documents, and selling parcels of my land like it was their private piggy bank. When I returned home, the gravel road that used to lead to my cabin was freshly paved and lined with picket fences. Cookie-cutter houses sat where my woods once stood. My cabin bulldozed. In its place, a dog park. It took everything I had not to scream. I walked through what used to be my property in a daze. People waved. Kids rode scooters past me. They had no idea they were living on stolen ground. I made my way to the newly built HOA office at the center of the development. It looked more like a country club than a neighborhood headquarters. Inside, the air conditioning blasted as soft jazz played from hidden speakers. Behind the front desk sat a woman with a perfect smile and a sharper attitude. "Can I help you?" she asked without looking up. "Yes, I think you sold my land." Her smile didn't falter. "And your name is Connor Reed. I own this property. You bulldozed my cabin." She blinked and clicked around on her computer. I see the confusion. This land was vacant when the subdivision was planned. You must be mistaken." "No," I said firmly. "I was deployed. I have proof. That land has been in my family for over 60 years. You had no right to touch it." She gave a little shrug. "Well, sir, all zoning permits and sales were properly filed. You can take it up with our legal department." I did more than that. I contacted the county. They claimed the title had been sold fair and square to Silver Pines' development group, a shell company created by the HOA board members. When I asked for the documentation, they showed me a forged signature. Mine. It was laughable. My name is spelled wrong, and the signature looked like a child's scribble. They'd faked everything. Permits, notices, signatures. They'd even gone as far as to mark my property as abandoned, citing a lack of occupancy for more than 12 months, completely ignoring the fact that I was an active duty soldier. I wasn't just angry. I was ready for war, but not in the way they expected. See, while I had spent years in the military, I wasn't just infantry. I specialized in legal logistics, property acquisition, base operations, and land rights in foreign zones. I knew how the system worked, and more importantly, I knew how to fight back. So I gathered everything: military orders, property deeds, proof of ownership, and records of the SRA protections I had filed before deployment. Then I made one phone call, just one, to the Department of Defense. It turns out when a soldier's legal rights are violated during active duty, especially by a civilian organization profiting off federal land protection violations, the government takes it very seriously. Within days, I had a military legal team assigned to me. Within 2 weeks, a federal investigation was opened into Silver Pines' HOA. And within 1 month, the subdivision that once stood on my land was served a cease and desist order by federal marshals. The fallout was glorious. First, every sale made on my land was deemed illegal. Every mortgage connected to it was nullified. The homeowners, who had no idea their dream homes were built on stolen ground, were given temporary relocation stipends by the state. While the matter was resolved, the HOA tried to fight it. They screamed about their investment, the value of the neighborhood, and how they followed every rule, but the law didn't agree. Then came the real hammer. Turns out Silver Pines' HOA didn't just steal my land. They had done this before on a smaller scale to other veterans and elderly landowners who couldn't fight back. My case opened the door for a full-scale audit. Fraud, perjury, forgery, illegal seizure of land under federal protection. The president of the HOA, Carl Jennings, was arrested. So were 2 other board members. The shell company they used to buy the land, dismantled. The dog park built on the ashes of my cabin, bulldozed. And then came the final twist of poetic justice. The federal government decided to repurpose the land, my land, as a joint military training and veteran outreach facility. Not only did I get it all back, but the subdivision that stole it was literally erased from the map. One morning, giant trucks rolled in. Excavators tore through white fences and pastel-painted homes. Most of the homeowners had already vacated under court order. The rest were removed by legal force. By the end of that week, Silver Pines was a ghost town. 2 weeks later, military engineers rolled in. They built a small operation center and began constructing cabins, modern, strong, and built for those who served. The land would now house veterans in transition, offer therapy services, and host training exercises. And me, I was hired as the operations director. On the land that had always been mine, one day, as I walked the perimeter with a clipboard in hand, I spotted a familiar face standing just beyond the fence line. It was Carl Jennings in a cheap suit, hair a mess, glaring at the facility that had replaced his kingdom. He didn't say a word. I didn't either, but I did smile. And then I turned and walked back onto my land, my future, knowing that justice, no matter how long it takes, always finds a way to. Anyone out there being pushed around, lied to, or stepped on by people who think they can cheat the system, remember this: sometimes the quiet ones have the most powerful allies. And when you steal from a soldier, you're not just picking a fight with one man, you're declaring war on everyone behind him. To anyone out there who's ever felt powerless against those with money, influence, or a false sense of control, remember this: no matter how alone you feel, the truth always has power. And justice, even when delayed, never forgets. Stand your ground, protect what's yours, and never let anyone silence your voice. Thank you for listening to my story. If you found it inspiring, moving, or just satisfying to watch justice unfold, please like, share, and do subscribe to my channel for more powerful stories like this one.